And okay, so we are recording again. Let's go and see if we can conclude this class, because we were moving to a very nice discussion in which we were talking about the problem of language in conveying the knowledge of the non-dual nature of the self, of existence, of the universe, and so on. So we use this language of actions and which produce results of actions. In other words, action and experience, and we are all oriented to do that. When we come to the spiritual world, we all we want is to be told, but okay, Vedanta sounds good, but tell me, what can I do? What can I do? And then, and as Ramji says, Vedanta is not about theory and practice. Vedanta is about studying, contemplating, and understanding, assimilating and retaining this knowledge. It has nothing to do with really practicing. There is no such a thing as practicing. Our practice is nididhyasana, which is contemplation on these teachings again and again until these teachings are clear. And that somehow turns off most of everyone, because people have this huge vasana for action. And unless they are doing something, they feel miserable. Very few people have attention span to stay for a period of time reading a book, for example, much less studying very subtle and abstract sometimes concepts as the ones we find in the Upanishads. So, and then we have to see how we're going to present Vedanta to people. So Swami Shimayananda, understanding clearly the difficulty, he has introduced a lot of language based on action and experience. That's what is defined often as mystic Vedanta. Mystic Vedanta is a Vedanta that is present with a language that has a better appeal to most people who are fundamentally action experience oriented. So, and then we present this language, we talk about transcendation, about the union, about getting there, about doing this, and as if the end result was going to be the result of certain actions. You understand? But when we present this language right from the beginning as a knowledge, identity language, and then we have to tell people, oh, there's nothing you're going to do that's going to take you to what you already are. You only need to understand. And then we have to tell people, so, but there is something which is the science of Mithya, which is going to prepare you to do things in order to develop a qualified mind, a qualified intellect, a refined and balanced body, So, and then we introduce, okay, so never mind, you don't need to be upset. We will feed you with a lot of potential actions. But know that those actions are going to just serve the purpose to bring about this spiritual maturity that is required, this spiritual preparedness that is required. So, and most people, they hate this idea because they don't like this notion of preparing, qualifying, and refining, and purifying. Everybody likes to say, no, I'm already there. I want the real thing. And I'm sure that there will be a certain experience that's going to set me that way, So how we present Vedanta to our friends in a knowledge identity-based language without upsetting everybody and making people believe that, it's all a philosophy and it's just theory, it's just words and blah, 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 blah. And the mind, the intellect is not the way, you have to feel it. So in the end, David, so what we're going to do, we better keep it for ourselves, knowing that we will, spiritually speaking, we will live a kind of a lonely life, because very few people have a developed value for knowledge, contemplation, knowledge, and apprehension of one's true nature as the non-dual I, non-dual self. You understand?
Well, we'd kind of come to this conclusion earlier, I think, and we kind of talked about the way to talk or to be with other people and communicate with other people is not using Vedanta, but using more like karma yoga, and talk to them. So when you talked about the Swami adjusting, his talk of yoga to the individual, then it's like the same thing. It's like if we're in this group, we can talk in a different way, and we can talk about Vedanta and Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. But if we're talking with people who are not in this group, who are not, familiar with the language, then the language of karma yoga probably makes more sense and not jnana yoga. Yeah.
The problem is when we use the language of karma yoga to talk about jnana yoga, because a lot of the people out there, they don't like this talk about God and Jiva and doing things and devotion. They want to know I am the self and that's it. So the direct path takes people directly into this talk about jnana yoga, the knowledge, and they present the jnana yoga as something that you need to do after all, and it's going to take you into certain transcendental realm, in which you're going to merge or join, or connect, and then you're going to have this extraordinary experience, and you're going to live ever happen, in that realm of the self, of Brahman. There are these people, they want to talk about jnana yoga, but they use the language of karma yoga, action and result of action. And that is very interesting, because it makes everybody believing that the final shift or the final understanding is an experience, is a result of something that they do that bring, and then, or they think, no, all you need to do is to understand it, and then I understood it, but yet they are not satisfied, because that understanding is superficial, and they keep waiting still for an epiphany that can really make that understanding more substantial, more grounded, more substantial, So it does not work to use the language of karma yoga when you want self-knowledge and moksha, you understand?
Yeah. I'm thinking, like, use language of karma yoga to create the preparedness, as you talked about, to create the sattvic, sattva mind and sattva mind, and so that we've got a fertilized ground. So really, we wouldn't try and take people to some destination through jnana yoga or Vedanta. Instead, we could talk to them about creating this kind of calm and peaceful mind, which I personally think is a shared objective for people, is to create that calm and peaceful mind. Now, what's the purpose of that? Now, that's the next step. But for most of us, trying to create a peaceful or calm or sattva type of environment is maybe that's it. Maybe that's we never go beyond that.
Yeah, but you see, most people, they like the idea of developing a peaceful and calm mind and intellect and heart, whatsoever they call it. But this is very difficult if you don't bring God into the equation. And most people do not like the talk of God. Understand? Most people, they just want to be logical, or they like the rationale of meditation as a means to control the mind, and then developing silence, and then in that silence I feel free for a short period of time, and slowly, I feel a little bit more balanced and a little bit more stable and strong. So, but this transformation of our emotional personality is much more easily accomplished when we really bring Ishwara into the equation, and the proper relationship between Ishwara, Jivan, and the Dharma field, the Jagat, you understand? So people need to understand that God, without God, and without God manifest as the Dharma field and its laws, it's very difficult to develop a peaceful mind. In the West, people they like the idea of meditation, but most frequently people quit it after some time. But why? Because it's frustrating. They want to control the mind, to create a mental environment in which they experience relaxation and peace and clarity. But again, that is attained temporarily after they put up a lot of effort to control the mind, to silence the mind. The moment that they suspend that practice, they go back to their life. They know nothing about Ishwara, Jiva, and Jagat. They don't know to carry that atmosphere of living style into their moment to life with the spirit of Karma Yoga, because they did not convert their vasanas into devotion, their likes and dislikes into devotion. Yeah. So it's almost impossible. And people, after some time, they quit. People like the idea of developing a peaceful mind, but they remain stuck with trying to achieve that by doing some meditations, which do not include God, and through therapies, which address the human problems on a very superficial level. You understand? So unfortunately, nobody wants to know really about God.
Well, unless you get to the point where you're inquiring as to why is it, no matter how hard I work at meditation and meditate and follow these practices and go to Vipassana and do all these things, but it's always temporary. How do I get to the permanent? And until you start asking that question, then you're not going to progress, if you will. But if you start asking the question of like, why is this temporary? Why can't I be there? Then that inquiry can take you to the next level. But I don't think if you ever ask the question, that you have to ask the question before you can move on.
Yeah, this is a very good conversation, especially for someone like you or most of us that like to share this Vedic knowledge as a means to purify and free the individual from this sense of limitation or the so-called psychological suffering. It is a good conversation because in the West, almost everybody begins with meditation, Buddhist Vipassana or TM meditations or mantra meditation. Most everybody begins with a sort of meditation. Most everybody wants to just relax a little bit more. They want to reduce the stress and, disturbance of the mind. And then they do things to bring down a little bit the level of disturbance, of stress. You understand? That's what I did for many, many years. So people begins there, and that's a good, honest effort. And they come to a point that they often quit, like I tried to quit a few times in the past, because I see that, okay, I was there in India, and then I was meditating in the ashram, and I was having a mind, and now I was without any money. I had to go to Germany and get a job in the restaurant, and now I'm working, and my mind is as stressed as always. And then I say, it seems that I only feel relaxation when I'm meditating there in the ashram in Pune, in India. You understand? So there is something strange here. And after 10 years, when you hear, I used to talk to some friends about that. I used to talk to people who was 20 years with Osho, and they say, you know what? This is impossible. I'm 20 years and I'm listening to him. I'm doing meditations every day and this and that. And not even meditation went deeper. I mean, nothing has really changed, And that's a point where most people quit and they say it's better to just enjoy life because there's no way to really control the mind and develop the peaceful, calm, sattvic mind. Why? Because they did not integrate a body of knowledge, that can address the fundamental cause of mental disturbance, mental depression, mental agitation, and that is the problem. So in the West, everybody wants this peace of mind, but nobody has access to this knowledge that address the root cause of mental disturbance. And this knowledge better begins with the knowledge about Ishvara, which is Karma Dharma Yoga. But then they get into the world of meditation, and then immediately they hear somebody say, hey, forget about this because you are the self, everything is the self, and there is nothing you can do. And then they jump into Yana Yoga. You understand? So from meditation, from trying to control the mind, they jump into a delusional environment in which there's nothing you can do. You already consciousness. Consciousness is free. Everything is consciousness. Get over it, and enjoy your freedom. I mean, nobody enjoys this freedom because nobody really has the mental capacity to really accept that statement that everything is consciousness and you are consciousness and you are already free. Everybody's going to reject it unconsciously because they did not go through the entire process called karma dharma and conform one's life, with these cosmic laws and purifying the mind, and then only later on to get into the nididhyasana on the statements of the Upanishads. So if you want to help people know that they begin with meditation, but they need to go through karma and dharma, unfortunately, most people will refuse it.
Lindo, I have a question about nididhyasana, if I may, kind of connected to what we're talking about. When we first, and thank you, David, for this topic, started talking about language, I was thinking about the nididhyasana you have to do to be, I'm losing my thought, but it's like language sort of rests on a sea of really subtle vrittis. It just kind of pops out of that, manifests out of that. And that where you have to go into the non-dual language is on that more subtle level of vritti, it seems to me. That it's like when it's, Ramji talks about when you say I, you should do that little nididhyasana on who that is all the time. But until you really get that non-dual, that non-dual language is an approach to that, I think. Is that a correct way of looking at nididhyasana, that it's sort of on that more subtle level?
Yeah, so I understand. I understand you present nididhyasana as a different way to meditate, right? You are going into observe the subtle thoughts that occur in your mind, and then gradually you begin discriminating, and then you see sattva and sattva vrits.
Yeah. Is that a part of it then?
This is also part of nididhyasana. So nididhyasana fundamentally is to discriminate the seer from the seen. Okay, the knower, the witnessing conscious, non-experienced principle called consciousness from everything that it sees through the mind, the intellect. The mind is a container in which all these vrits appear and disappear. So you observe these phenomena in a very subtle way, and constantly discriminating it is a very fine type of nididhyasana, you understand? So, but you want to do that not only for the sake of creating emptiness or silence or samadhi. You want to do that so that you can more clearly and firmly claim your identity as the seer which is not the mind, and which is not the vlits that occur within the mind. So you need to know why you are doing that. You are not doing that just because you want to enjoy another seen, perceived experience object called silence, peace, or any one of these subtle objects. You are not interested in this beautiful, pleasant, subtle object. You are interested in claiming your identity as the seer. The seer is often, and most of the time, confused with what it sees. It defines itself by what it sees, its experience. So we want to cut off from that, and then as these subtle objects appear, we keep discriminating. I mean, all of this is just phenomenal. It's just another object of experience. I'm not going to get entangled with this beautiful state, this beautiful experience, because I'm a seer of all of that. I'm not going to define myself from these powers or these beautiful epiphanies or this. So this is nididhyasana, is the very, very finest level of nididhyasana. Another way to look into nididhyasana is to look into the text of Vedanta, seated in your meditation room. You go verse by verse, paragraph by paragraph, and then you sit and you contemplate and you reflect on those statements with a very, very, very focused and clear mind. When you sit it, your mind is clear. So it means to say you can do a certain initial meditation to refine or to make the mind more subtle, and then you go into the subtle place, following the logic as presented by the scripture. You understand? This is another way to look at nididhyasana. Another way to look at nididhyasana is just go about your day and remembering this knowledge that at that point they should be already alive in one's mind. Remember the knowledge again and again, and remember and discriminating what's going on from you, the light in which all of these occur, and developing a certain dispassion and immunity against what's happening, in your environment. So this is another way that sometimes it was presented by Shankara as an application of Vedanta, application of self-knowledge. So you begin applying this knowledge every time in your day-to-day, moment-to-moment life to neutralize ignorance every time it's surface, which is the belief that this what's happening here is real, and therefore, I need to get all excited and agitated to try to avoid or to attract what's happening here and retain it or reject. So you need to, in a moment to moment, we can apply this knowledge to the extent that this knowledge is already somehow properly alive or printed in our minds. So these are different angles we can look into nididhyasana, and nididhyasana can go all the way down to nididhyasana based on the teachings of Vishwara, Karma Dharma, because Karma Dharma is a very subtle discrimination entre Dharma and Adharma. And it's to conform. First, we need to contemplate on those scriptural knowledge that describe to us what it is a sattvic lifestyle, what it is a dharmic lifestyle, what it is these rajasics and tamasics vasanas, what they do. We study all of that to develop the conviction and the inspiration and motivation to really put up a fight with all these adharmic tendencies. And then we go about discriminate dharma from adharma. We can do it in in retrospect, you know, looking at how certain event happened in my life, and then I can see, you know, all of this is nididhyasana, you know, it's reviewing, it's studying, it's like listening to the audios and videos again, elaborating questions, resolving questions. All of this is also part of nididhyasana because it's conducive to assimilation of this body of knowledge, this complete body of knowledge, which includes Mithya, Ishvara knowledge, and self-knowledge.
It's like the truth shining on all those different levels.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's working out to be a nice satsang here. So shall we carry on? Anybody else?
I would like to add something, if I
Please.
may.
Of course.
When you said nobody wants to talk about God, I think for me, it's been very useful to understand Ishvara as how do you say, what creates Maya and what delivers everything, like, as you say, cause and effect. I didn't have that understanding about, shall we say, the impersonal aspect of that higher power. And that's been very, very valuable for me. So I think people don't want to talk about God because they have a fixed idea of this, at least in the West, of this punishing, this punishing person in the sky. Yeah. And it doesn't make rational sense. But as Vedanta teaches, it does make sense, and it's present in everything that's created because it is the creation. And that's been very, very useful for me.
Yeah, but you are a Vedantine, so you had your mind already qualified for Vedanta. When I say that most people are not interested to integrate God, first because they overreact with this word called God, because
right.
it's I mean, it has all these coming from different religious structures of God, someone yes. up there, and he's going to reward or punish and so on. And most people think, oh no, this is something, you know, from the old days, and it's absurd and so on. So when you want to present God for the people who are a little bit more deeper into this process of meditation, this and that, you can successfully present the logic, the rationale of karma yoga, you understand? And if they are open, they are going to see, wow, it makes sense. And then slowly they may appreciate this vision of God as this intelligent order, this living, self-conscious being, you know, not a person, it's not embodied, it's not incarnated, it's not subject to karma. Slowly, if they really go a little deeper into karma, dharma, and then they may begin developing this vision of Ishvara as it is, not as a person, you understand, which is a subtle vision, perspective, you know, need to develop the subtlety of vision to see and understand Ishvara as it is, because it's not tangible. You understand? So, and then once people appreciate the rationale, you know, the logic that presents Ishvara as this intelligent order, and then we need to again introduce to them the idea that devotion to this order is fundamental for this process of purification and preparation. And that is a little bit more challenging for most people because, but some people, they have already an inclined temperament for devotion, you understand? And then you have to say, so you're going to be devout of Ishvara, maybe as Krishna, represented by Krishna, but don't get too attached either, because this devotion to Krishna serves a certain purpose. It's a means, not an end, So all of that needs to be presented to each one of us gradually and digested by each one of us gradually, which does not usually happens overnight. You understand? But it is a process. There are a lot of people here, the devotees of all these different deities, and they believe that they love God, but they attach to the gods. They believe that their gods are the real gods, the other gods are not real gods, and so on. And they try to force their gods on you. I mean, when they are still, they are still into the land of dense lands, of misconception, misunderstandings, ignorance. Yeah.
Mhm. I think that is the attraction sometimes that many people have to Buddhism, because it's a negation. But I found that to be empty. I mean, after studying that for many years, I found that to be empty. And so to reintroduce the idea of deity does give it the devotional aspect that I need to continue.
Yeah.
To continue in the study, yeah.
Yeah. So you stayed 10 years with Buddhism, no?
And more, yes, under
Yeah.
Chogyam Trungpa, yes, Tibetan Buddhism.
I see. Yeah. Buddhism,
20 years.
it was very attractive, especially in the West, because they reject God and the Vedas and the tradition, and make
Yes.
more like a culture, more like a,
Or maybe we could talk about that on our walk tomorrow, Ruth.
Okay.
Good. Claudio, you are very quiet there. There is a dark light behind you. You are looking very mystical there.
It is a glow.
Yeah.
With a glow around you. So tell us the truth.
Yeah,
Did you get enlightened?
No, no, it's how it's called in English? It's something that is warm. What is
Heater.
called on a stove?
A
A heater. Yes, a heater. It's simply a heater, and now it's already dark in Italy. So
I see.
Arlindo, at 5 o'clock in Italy in November and December, it's night. Now I go out to run.
You have a very beautiful aura around you.
Yes, it seems like an aura.
But he does
But it's
every day. He does all the time. We just don't always see it. So
Yeah.
So, yeah, my light is far from here, so I cannot.
Right.
I cannot,
Okay.
turn the light.
So anything else, my friend?
yep. It's good.
Okay. So I will carry on with my Parabdha Karma around internet here. You informed about the development, and I hope things are going to get better. And
Okay.
so I say goodbye. Good weekend.
Okay. And we plan on Monday. Yep.
Of course, I always plan, and I may go anywhere I need to go. I can find good internet. I'm looking at every possible. I'm glad that this worked. I don't know why it dropped in between, but here I have at least 4, 5, 6 megabytes speed here. In the chalet that I have rented, it was more like around 2 or 3 megabytes. So here I'm getting double speed, but where I was before, I contract the internet that I was getting somewhere between 10 and 20 megabytes speed, which was good. It was not letting me down.
Mercury, the planet of communication, is turning direct, so things will improve.
I did not get it.
Mercury, the planet of communication, is turning direct. Yeah, it's stationary right now. It's been in retrograde, so problems, but now it'll move forward.
Oh, I see. Okay, there is a lot of knowledge out there that I'm totally ignorant.
And so trying to understand Nithya, forget it, yeah. So
I'm not even trying to get there because,
yeah.
I can't deal. I mean, my ignorance is so vast that I not know it.
I am a student of Vedic astrology, so.
I see. Good. Okay.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate Om Shanti Shanti. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, everybody. We meet again soon. I will be sending this meeting of ours, this satsang, to all of you, hopefully tomorrow. Okay? Big hug. Much love. See you next time.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.